Hello and welcome to the fourth and final video in our Using the Progress and Decline tool series. The content from this series comes from grade 10, unit 2 on nationalism, and our objectives for this video, we're going to analyze the historical moment using step 3 of the Progress and Decline tool, and then we're also going to do a reflection on the historical moment using the language of progress and decline chart. In the previous videos, we went over the progress and decline tool itself. We also read and annotated an excerpt on nationalism by Dr. Trevor Getz from grade 10, unit 2, lesson 17. We also did steps 1 and 2 by contextualizing the historical moments and identifying changes in continuity. In this video, we're going to take all that we know and then we're going to do an analysis of the historical moment with the concepts of progress and decline. And we're also going to learn in this video how to use the language of progress and decline chart as well. So in our first step, we contextualize and we know the historical moment is around nationalism in around the 18th century. And there were also some themes that we saw at play: Romanticism, Enlightenment, modernity. And then our next step, because we had done our reading, we took evidence from the reading and we noticed that nationalism helped unite people with a shared language and culture, regardless of social class. We also saw new technologies coming out, but then we also saw some continuities, not only changes. In the continuities, we saw that people had to stay loyal, usually to their common beliefs, and they would sometimes stick to their shared traditions and old beliefs because of nationalism. So the next step that we're going to look at is step 3. And in step 3, we're going to use one of our themes or concepts that we noticed before, and that's going to be our grounding and our foundation to see, well, was it really progress or decline? And some things that could help you here when you're thinking of progress, we could think of, well, what changes and or continuities that we notice in step 2 represent positive developments, so good developments, and what examples or evidence, either from our prior knowledge or from the text that we have read, will help illustrate that progress. And if we're using our text and our source, what source and what part of our source will showcase this historical moment as one of progress? And then do the likewise for a decline. Was it a period of decline? How so? What changes and or continuities represent negative developments? And then what examples or evidence do we have, once again, from either prior knowledge or our text that help us illustrate a decline or a lack of progress? And then, because we're using sources here, what sources will showcase this historical moment or period as one of decline? So these are things that you could use to help you kind of figure out what you would put in this progress or decline stage. At this point, you may also wish to go back and look at your annotated notes to pick up things from your notes that you had not put in on step 2. This is my completed step 3. One of the themes and concepts or enduring issues that we had noticed when we were contextualizing was modernity. And I decided, well, that's the one I want to stick with, especially because in the text that we read, the author really tried to connect nationalism with modernity. So for progress, I wrote down that nationalism united people of a shared language and culture within a nation, regardless of their social class. You didn't have to be king, you didn't have to be a noble. We read that even the middle class had some influence here. So it's really a good uniter. We also saw that ethnic nationalism helped unify communities and could help throw off foreign rule. So these are a lot from my notes. And also from my notes, we saw some decline, that nationalism often leads to the belief that the nation demands unquestioned loyalty. And this could lead to the belief that other nations are the enemy. And then we also see there was a dark side. We saw that there was persecution. Nationalism could lead us to persecution of minority groups such as the Jews and Gypsies, particularly after during and actually the world wars. So now that we have done this, what's the next step? Well, it depends on what you are studying. Your teacher may wish for you to do a reflection or a wrap up where you take everything and actually have to talk about the significance of this concept. So, for example, you may be asked about what was the rise of nationalism a force of progress or decline? And you may want to think, well, I am not necessarily sure. I'm not sure how to start this. Well, so one of the things that we ask students to do here is this next step of reflection, right? So if you're asked to do this next step of reflection, this is going to be a great help to you. The language of progress and decline. So this could be found in the historical tool set your teacher may give it to, or you could just pause this screen and look at the chart itself. But this chart will give you nouns and verbs that could really help you like really have the talk and language when you're discussing progress and decline. There are also some phrases and how to discuss examples. And one of my favorites is there's a section on sentence starters. I feel that sentence starters are a great thing to look at because if you're stuck on how to start something off or how to talk about something, look at the sentence starters. It could give you a really good idea of what to do. And you'll see some of these sentence starters and the language when I show you what my reflection could look like. So the reflection that we're going to look at is, was the rise of nationalism a force of progress or decline? If you wish, you could pause right here and look at your steps 1, 2, and 3 to answer. Great. I'm going to show you my response and talk you through why my response went the way it was. So my response was, although the rise of nationalism may be viewed by some as a positive development, and this comes directly from that language of progress and decline, it's one of our sentence starters. So although the rise of nationalism may be viewed by some as a positive development because it helped unite people of a shared language and culture within a nation, regardless of social class, nationalism often demanded unquestioned loyalty, which could lead to the belief that other nations and people are the enemy. For example, in the Getz document, as a result of nationalism, many people's lives were worsened because of the persecution of minority groups such as Jews and Gypsies who were seen as other. So this is a sentence starter from the language of progress and decline. I use some of the words and phrasings for how to talk about my examples. So many of people's lives were worsened, showing that it was a decline. And then I use language from our steps 1, 2, and 3 here as well. So this hopefully was a series that will help you figure out how to use the progress and decline tool. And I hope it was helpful for you. Have a great one.